Hello! Welcome to the Esoteric Software Stream. My name is Erika, and today we'll do something a bit different, as we'll take a challenge that is going on the Spine Discord server. You will find the link to the material in the description of the video when it comes to YouTube. Art is by Victor Debatisse, and it was cut by Martin Hauw, who also started the challenge on the Spine Discord. I'll start by importing the file immediately. Okay, see, now I can drag and drop a file, which you can also do if you download the material. The path seems right. Now I can choose the images path if the project is already saved, of which skeleton. In this case, I am on a new untitled project, so there is no path, so I'm switching to PSD path. New project. Everything seems fine, so I'll import. Voila! Took less than a second. That was amazing. So this is our dino friend for today, and I think that in this session I will mostly rig it so it can do a bunch of stuff. It would be super if either you also tried to rig this dino following along with me, or if you feel intimidated, as some people have said, then you can also just take the rig that I'm going to be working on and you can just create your own animations for the challenge. It's totally okay to do, so feel free to just download it at the end of the session. It's gonna be in the link that I shared at the beginning. Okay? Actually, I could start by dividing the pieces at first, so we see how this is structured and how you could structure also your own parts for this. So let's have a look. Okay, so we have a bunch of pieces here for the head, which gives us a bit of flexibility, which is amazing. Here there's collar. Is it called? Yeah, neck collar. Awesome. Then we have a saddle, but there's no occupant of the saddle. Then we have the backbones, horns, decorations. There's a dino little tail, very cute. Then there's the foot. Here's some back part of the body, which I see is mostly covered. In fact, it's like kind of painted like this, which is absolutely okay to do, especially for parts that are not gonna be seen much. We have some good subdivision on the fingers and also the back fingers, and mechanical parts. Oh, that's so sweet. It means that this dino must have lost parts of the leg and it was replaced by a robotic leg. As usual, I'm going to start to place the first bone from the first part that touches the ground that is not a double of something. So we could say the hips in this case. If this dinosaur had longer arms, then we could have placed this first bone maybe more in the middle. I think I'm gonna start from this piece that is actually mostly hidden, and I'll try to select also other parts so that I can understand the overall mass for this. Okay, so if this is the case, then the body is oriented a little bit sideways like this. And I'm going to be placing, instead of more in the middle as I was thinking in the beginning, more so that it's in between these two legs like this. And so I have to imagine a circle here, and I'll place it, I think, here. I also admire your work. The way you teach us is commendable. Oh, thank you! Thank you! Really appreciate it. It really makes me happy when you say these things and that you learn stuff from me. So, okay, this was the first bone. Let's actually rename it, instead of body 2, to hips. I prefer that. I'm gonna color the bones that I'm creating some other color, or maybe I'll just hide the root. So because it's kind of in the middle, I feel like I'm gonna get confused, and I just need the hips for now, so I'll just hide it and then maybe unhide it if I need it again. Okay, let's think. So we could start from the body or from the legs. Does not matter which, because in any case we're gonna get 3 branches from the hips. So one that goes towards the head and involves the body, and then 2, of course. Well, we actually have 4, all things considered. 2, of course, for the legs, and then the tail, because this dino has a tail. So you probably know this, but we can't reorder the bones after they are created in the visibility. So if I create a bone and then I create another bone, this bone is going to be forever in front of the other one. So for this reason, because aesthetically I prefer to see them in order of distance from myself, I'm gonna start from the back, I think. So I'll start from the back leg in this case. Then if everything else is not precisely like that, it's gonna be fine. It's just to give it a little bit of order. So here I have the hips selected. Now I'm going to be holding Control, which is Command on Mac, to highlight the images. When I click, then I release Control, I see them highlighted. The first one is the one that gives the name to the bone. I'm probably gonna rename this because I selected the body again, but I am actually creating a bone for a leg. This helps me consider the actual shape and the size of the various pieces, which would be impossible to see if I did not see the outline. So a lot easier this way. And I'm going to, I think, start from around here. So I'm also gonna consider the anatomy that I'm seeing on this side. What's gonna be the range for this? Probably these hips could have been a tad higher if we wanted to be very precise, anatomically speaking. But also, if instead we consider that this is a 2D image, then it's less important, and it's alright to start with a circle, kind of dumping my thoughts here. Because this is going to have a range of motion that starts from around here and around this height, I think I'm gonna try to match that height here and then aim for the middle line here. So I think around here, yeah, okay. Then I'll go down around here. Once again, it helps to see when two pieces overlap. In this case, this is a single piece, so we don't have that. Here we have several pieces, so I'm gonna select a bunch of them, so they're at least parented to something that makes sense. And then I think, yeah, so it's actually, this looks like some bony part. If we consider that this maybe is going to be the heel of this raptor, then I guess, yeah, because here we can see it functional and all, and it kind of should be around here like a normal foot. Plantigrade is when they touch the ground, digigrade is when they touch with the fingers. So in this case, they basically just touch with the fingers, so it should be digigrade. And that means that I think I'm gonna change the orientation a little bit for this, because it should aim more this way. The mechanical parts fooled me a little bit, so I'm going to fix them. Yeah, let's use the arrow keys and world access so it's easier. Okay, I'm looking at the lines on the sides to know if I'm doing a good job. I think this is fine. I'm gonna make this a tad shorter, I think, around here. And then from here, let's see, where are the lines going like this? Then I think that I can create the next bone starting from there. I'm gonna select a bunch of parts and click and drag. And I think I'm gonna stop in the middle of this all, like this, yeah? Oh, look at that, there's an extra finger like this. Looks like a vestigial thumb, because it's not doing much, so it's not very useful. Oh, what is this? Finger L back. Interesting. Makes little anatomical sense in my opinion, but it looks nice. Yeah. Then, okay, I'm gonna select the fingers. So here they're a single piece, and here I have them separated. Now it's weird because it would have made more sense to have more of these separated, but we don't have them. So I think that because I don't have them on this side, I'm not gonna add more animations on this side. Because I know that this is gonna be a target, I'm already gonna create a bone on the tip of these so that it matches perfectly and it's not gonna move from that position, which would be very good. So I'll select the bone. Because I'm in 4.2 and this is available I think from 4.0 onwards or 4.1, when you create a new bone and you are in parent axis, you can choose new bone and it will be created on the tip of this other bone, of the parent bone. So if I rotate this now, I can also assign it a length by inputting this number here. And then I just adjust it until it reaches where I want it. Does not matter because the length in this case is just cosmetical. And like this, I have the bones that are needed. Then I think that I'll create the body because it's in front of that leg. I'll select again the create tool. Then I'll select some part of this body. I think that, okay, this looks like part of the body, which then has the collar and the neck. Okay, let's see the direction in which this is going. I kind of imagine that it would have a bulk of stuff here, but it's simply not drawn. And it will probably, most likely, start from where I place the hips. Now, because this is not something that would be moved that much. I just had a thought. Because I could create a bone like this, which would be very classical, right? But what if I created a bone that was like this? So I just translate it up and down because it's not, maybe it can be rotated a little bit sideways. I think I'm gonna go with that. I don't know if you understood, but it's because we don't have the rest of the body for this actually. So I can just parent this all to this bone here in the middle to control this part. Yeah, I'm gonna roll with this, I think. And then maybe, yeah, from here I'm gonna have the bone that controls the neck. So I intend to use physics for this. And when we have to consider the usage of physics, physics bones can do basically two things. If we add the length to the bone, then it's gonna be able to oscillate, swing sideways. If we don't, then it's gonna just be translated. So, do I want it to be able to oscillate or do I want it to translate up and down? Would it make sense to have the head of this dino oscillate sideways, or do I want it to just translate to simulate depth? Oh, I am too tempted by the fact that I could just have it translate. So I'm gonna continue this not very conventional rig. And I'm gonna add just a little bone here to control the head. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. Okay, I'm gonna create it here so that then I have lots of freedom in moving here the neck, because I'm not binding it to the position of a bone that is supposed to rotate sideways. I'm going to move this freely wherever I want. Then I think that, okay, from here I need, in this case, the head. Okay, it should have a length at some point of some kind. I definitely want this jaw to open and reveal the contents. We want the dino to roll, right? What's otherwise the fun in that? Oh, look at that, super nice. Very exciting. I love that it was divided so nicely, so we can really play with this. I especially love that I didn't have to do it, but it was done for us by Martin Hauw, who presented this challenge on the Unofficial Spine Discord. So it's a lot easier for us to just take the work that was done and just try out our rigging skills. Would you have done this way or not? I'm curious. Okay, so little dino here. I could do these various ways. If I'm going for like a very 3D feel for these, instead of having, so once again I'm breaking everything that I would normally do. Okay, instead of having a bone like this and maybe one like this for the jaw so it can kind of open, etc. Maybe I could just have a bone here to control the perspective, and then a child bone to control the opening of the mouth. Let's try to go with that. How about that? And so I'll control the mouth opening with a child of this part here. Does it have a tongue or not? Let me destroy this for a moment so I can check. Oh, there is! And it's separate. Super. Then the tongue should be a child, probably of this bone here. Well, probably I'll go back and create the bones for these afterwards. How does that work? That's super nice. So we can have a control for the eye so it looks sideways, and also two little controls to control the opening and closing of the eye. So one like this, and then two bones, one here and one here, to control the opening and closing of the eyelids. See what happened with the cargo that the dino has? It has a tiny problem. If we move the horns out of the way, what happens is that it's empty. So it means that we are a bit limited in the perspective that we could apply to this part, because there is nothing behind. As soon as we move this a little bit, I don't know, down like this, the magic is gone. We're gonna be slightly more limited because of this. Then I see that Martin had the good heart to separate the cloth here. So it means that we can add a little bone. I think that it's gonna be parented to this to control the, okay, it's gonna be like this, to control the flaps of the tissue that was here, of the cloth actually. Then maybe we can add a little control in here just so we can have it bob a little bit. That's gonna be driven by physics, I think. And just this area here, because this is a crate that is made of wood. Yeah, it does look like metal. What range do I have? Okay, so the front one is structured like this. So it would make sense to mimic that sort of structure. But we see that the image ends around here, so we don't have tons of range. So I think I'm gonna skip the upper part that I would have here and just create a bone that can rotate from here. Then I'm guessing from the drawing that I probably can do this, something like this. Okay, so I'm gonna move it so it's a bit more centered. I don't know, something like this. Yeah, more centered, more like this, and I rotate it a little bit more. Okay, now it's perfect. Okay, now I'm gonna do the front. And for the front, I'm gonna select, we said this bone, create, select this, do this. Okay, this is where it starts to rotate. This is the piece I want it to be able to rotate from around here. So it has a little bit of the original thing, but more like this. I like it better. And then I'll divide it in 2 fingers. 1 finger and 2nd finger. There it is. Okay, did I place them precisely? Could have maybe aimed a little bit better the angle for this. I wonder, something like this? It's gonna be what it is. Let's make it a touch shorter. Cool. Then, at this point, I can go and do the tail and afterwards the front leg. So I have everything exactly in order. So for the tail, what are we gonna do with the tail? Create mode, select the tail. Okay, it has this curved part, which is gonna be terrible. And this part is very straight, so it's not actually doable. Now, we could be fancy. What kind of movement we want it to do? We could have it just move up and down, like safe and boring. Oh, that's a heart. It's heart-shaped. For sure, if I create some bone, it's gonna start from the middle of where it is attached to the rear. It's not very like me, but I think I'm gonna be doing a classical thing for once. Maybe something like this that follows the curvature. And notice how I'm creating something that is a tad longer in the beginning and then it becomes progressively smaller, so we have a better control. There we go. Last part is the front leg. For these, I'm gonna be selecting, oh, look at this beautiful muscle shape. It's perfect. And we're going to be creating something, so it attaches to the leg. We could imagine a circle like the one for which I'm moving the mouse in a circle. So we can click and drag and do this. I think that is a good placement. But the other one, the other bone was placed a tad higher, so maybe I respect that and I do the same on this side. Okay, I'm gonna aim for the middle of this, and then this is a single piece, so we'll be doing something like this. What did you use? A path constraint for this? The problem with path constraints is that they presume they are gonna be attached on 2 ends, but the tail is supposed to waggle freely, because, like the pupper he is, so we don't need a path constraint. Path constraints are great to connect 2 ends usually. Okay, I'm gonna be creating the very last bone, something that is gonna be similar to the one here. I think it's gonna be like this. Yay. And I'm gonna make this a tad longer. Okay. No, because I'm gonna delete this and instead I'll create the bone directly on the tip so that I can create an IK that won't move from that place. So new bone, and that creates the bone on the tip. I'll assign it a length and then I'll rotate it until it matches the orientation that I want. Something like this can work. Maybe a tad shorter. Okay. To be super extra fancy, I could add a bone to control just the tip of the fingers so they can curve a little bit. But I'm not sure that's possible because there's this finger here that should be able to be seen when the finger is rotated like this. And this is a single piece. And actually the same happens here. I cannot rotate the finger because they're a single piece. Whereas I could go fancy on this side. So I think I'm not gonna add extra bones for that reason. I think I'm ready to do the next step. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with the tail just because it's very big and it was under my nose. So to attach the tail. Oh, separate core is saying, I'm using 3.8 version, it will not open in my system. Oh no, I know. So you know what? I'm gonna export for you a version of the JSON that is compatible with 3.8, so that you can also import just this work that was done with the bones. Yeah, whatever. You can export there, I don't care. No animation cleanup, yes to non-essential data, and yeah, it's okay. What does the log say? That it may lose information. Okay. So I'll move that little JSON, so anyone who has 3.8 just imports this JSON, and they should have the same thing that I have here. So if I try to do that import now, like with the drag and drop, because I can, and I do a new project, yeah, it has the same bones. That's awesome. Let's create this first mesh. We're gonna make a cute dino tail. Okay, I checked mesh, so that I now have a mesh. We see that it has these vertices that I can move around. I'm gonna edit this mesh. But first, can I trace this? Yeah, but I'm gonna clean it up. I'm gonna remove the extra vertices that do nothing and modify it a little bit. Yeah, I think this is good. This is not necessary. This is not necessary. Two of these are absolutely not necessary there. Overall, the outer hull that was automatically generated was something good, so we can use that. I think I'm gonna add some more vertices so that this can move in a nicer way. I think I'm gonna move this here, and then I'll add a vertex here. I want to have more vertices near the end of the tail so that I can make it smooth when it rotates. In this case, so I'm afraid that if I just leave the slicing like this, I'm not gonna get a great result. But you know what? I'm gonna start with this and see the result. And if I don't like it, I'm gonna add internal vertices to improve the way it deforms. So at first, I can just bind these parts, including, I need to also include the hips, because this part needs to be attached to those hips, otherwise it will tragically detach. Okay, then I'll go in animate mode. So to explain, if I rotate this, see, because it's not attached, it does feel like it's not attached at all. Okay, then my testing animations, they kind of all look the same. I just test it like this. Okay, first I rotate it in one direction, then I rotate it in the opposite direction, like this. Maybe a lot. Oh, so much range, unexpectedly. And I think I'm just gonna rotate this a little bit less. But look, he could be very afraid or very sad because this tail is so expressive. I love that. Then I'm gonna apply curves. So it's doing this. Then I'm gonna offset this so it looks good, a little bit. There, now it's doing the usual movement that I like for testing, because it shows me some range. Yeah, in this case, it's like it's making air with the tail. Okay, first thing first, we have to attach that tail to the body, right? So I'm gonna use the weights tool here. Oh, and as you see, it did a good job with the automatic weights, assuming someone wants a semi-rigid version of these, because auto weights take into account also the length of a bone, how much it overlaps with the mesh. But in this case, we want to also attach the rear here to this bone. Okay, so I'll change the weights, and now it is attached. The test animation makes it easier to see that these two are moving too much, so I'm gonna apply more of those weights here. Then here, I can even smooth this part. Here definitely needs to not be controlled by that and instead more by the hips. Okay, the more, something like this. Yeah, so it's more attached. Removing, once again, the influence of that bone and instead applying more of the hips to get a more rigid situation. Okay, for this part, I think I'm gonna start by smoothing it. Okay, now it's basically soft cloth. It has no 3Dness because I purposefully made it very flat. So do we want to add more? I'm actually gonna slow it down a little bit. It goes so fast, we cannot appreciate fully this. Yeah, okay, I think I'm gonna smooth more here the tail. Good. Then I'm gonna actually prune the weights. I want to prune them. Where has the prune button gone? Is it at the... Oh, okay, it has been moved at the bottom. So I'm gonna prune the weights. Yeah, don't want too many bones influencing the same thing. Okay, then I'm going to change the mesh so it can actually feel a bit more 3D. Okay, if we know that this thing is gonna be round, the easiest way to simulate something round is to divide something in 3 parts. So that means that for every 2 vertices that I have like this, I'm gonna create some roundish thing so that it can wrap around and feel more round. Tin is asking, what is prune? Prune is a button here that is your best friend when you went overboard by clicking the smooth button or automatic weights, because it removes all the weights that are under a certain threshold, or maybe it gives a maximum of X bones, so in this case 4, but it could be 3 or 2. See, you immediately see the result of pruning, so you can also test if what you're doing is okay or not. And then it tells you how many weights you are removing. Why would you want to prune? Because performance. When you have too many vertices first, and too many vertices influenced by too many bones, what happens is that, especially when you have a bone that is only influencing by 1% your vertex, it has to be stored and calculated at runtime, so it has to hit the CPU. So if you're having those performance issues, which usually is not the case, but if you combine these on top, direct deformations, then you may want, as a first way to salvage what the work you have done or someone else has done that maybe was too detailed, maybe you can try pruning to see if some of the automatic weights or some of the weights in general can be improved like that. I was about to edit this mesh, so let's edit it, and I said that I wanted to slice it in 3 parts. Okay, this part is hidden, so does not matter much. I could maybe make sure that this part is anchored like this, but we have to convey the fact that this is going to move like this, which is a bit 3D. So I think I'm gonna do this. Here I think I'm gonna leave it as is. And then I'm trying to slice it in 3 parts. Now I'm not doing a great job at maintaining a nice grid. Here I have forced the geometry, and then I'm gonna adjust it so that these various parts are a bit more equally distanced so that they get a better bending result. This usually gives good results. Maybe I'm gonna have problems around here, not sure. So we're gonna see. Yeah, maybe like this. So this part is enveloped in a nice triangle. Okay, I'm gonna adjust this here and maybe make this more even. This could work. Now I go in animate mode. Okay, I'll show you the before. It was like this. See the triangles, how wavy, how ugly they were? Look at the after. See, now it deforms a lot better, and I actually did not change the weights. If I want to change the weights so it feels more substantial, then I'm gonna increase the weights of for each of these parts of the bone that is the closest to us to get more of a result. So which bone is the closest to us? In this case, the hips are closer to us. So I'm going to apply more of the weights of the hips. And the more I increase it, the more it will feel like this part is more 3D. Sometimes also just reducing the weights of parts that should not be influencing those parts works. So I can reduce here. So if I get it to deform too much, no good. This, more of the hips. I think it's gonna be more noticeable if I do another test animation, where instead of doing that sort of motion, I instead translate the parts. I'm gonna be doing a different movement, like this. So there is not just one way of moving these bones, right? So we're gonna be doing this, and then the opposite direction like this. And then here, I'll get it to be like this. Oh yeah, and now I can already see mistakes. Super, that is useful. So now the movement is like this, which is not very useful. I'm gonna apply curves, and then I'm gonna offset this so it's more evident what is happening. Okay, I'll select this and I'll offset it more. Okay, so that's a different sort of movement. Let's see without bones. Clearly I applied the wrong weights, and now because I have a different kind of animation, it is easier to test this for the right weights. So for example, here they're kind of falling in a hole, and so I have to change the weights accordingly. Let's add more of, I think, the hips. Yeah, here definitely more of the hips. Oh yeah, here way more of the hips. Look at that, already better. Here I think this also needs either more or less of the hips. More. Okay, here too, a bit more, basically attached. We want it here too. How much depends on how much I want it to move. Here I think this could be actually influenced less, so I have more of a 3D effect. Oh, I like that. Here, do I want a bit more of the hips? Not sure. Actually, I think I want more of the tail. Yeah, so it sticks out a tad more. This should not be so much of that. It should be more or less of the tail. Think less, more like this. Okay, so it curves nicely. Okay, that feels nice. This is wrong. This needs to be more in the back, so more of the blue bone. This needs to also be more of the blue bone. No, less. Okay, so then if it's like this, then this needs to be more of the blue. No, less like this. Okay, that's good. I can probably get a better curvature on this. What is the right weight though? I feel like the bottom part is right and the top part is not. This could work. Okay, and let's see it again with the other animation. So we test both versions. I guess that's okay. I'm never gonna use this for anything. I think this is a more realistic usage of it. What do you think? How about we try to use physics with this? For this, I'm going to select the 3 bones. 1, 2, 3. Also, I'm gonna save. And I'm going to choose new physics constraint. And then it activated. Let's actually go to a new animation. I'll call this test 2. Oh, so now when I rotate it, it's doing this. So see, it's not great because it's awesome if I move it up and down like that. But I want it to translate. I definitely want it to translate, so I'm gonna add to these 3 constraints the ability to translate. Definitely a lot like this, maybe a little bit also up and down. Let's see. Yeah. What am I playing? I have no animation. Oh, look at that. That is wonderful. Yeah. Let's see it without bones to check if it is doing the right thing. Okay. So it looks amazing. It feels like it is very floaty though. So I think I'm gonna change a little bit the way this is moving. It feels like a balloon at the moment. Which if you like the balloon style, then it's great. Yeah, it's too bouncy. So I'm gonna create a test animation to test this. I don't know, I'll place this maybe here, then I'll place this here, then I'll place this up, then maybe down, so I test the various ways this can move, and then here, and then back where it was. So I have some sort of testing animation. Okay, it's moving. I want it a bit faster, and then I'm gonna go back to setup so that I can open the preview view and edit these properties of the tail so that they will reflect on every animation. I'm gonna select the 3 tails. Let's see. I could give it more strength, maybe give it a bit more mass. Interesting. What about more damping? No, less damping. That could be it. Maybe like this. Okay, I want to test it out manually because I cannot tell. Okay, no, I think it's doing this too much, and that I think the fact that it wobbles so much, I think I'm gonna set it to 17. Let's see. Now it feels heavy, and it kind of takes too much its time. This makes it not move, basically. This will try to get it to stay where it was. It's like it's underwater, so it needs to be. I think I'll leave it as it was. I'll raise the damping. I think this is good. I think this is it. Yeah, okay. I think this is the tail. Yeah, it moves and it's doing the thing I want. Not too bouncy. I can probably edit the limits so that it's not detaching so much. So now we have a new limit. I don't know if you've noticed, because from previous times where I tried to use physics, I don't think I change that or explain that. So the limit is the distance in pixels beyond which the physics translate will stop, because otherwise it stretches too much, a part stretches too much, or things like that. So I think 5,000 pixels is too much. How about 500? No, maybe let's try just 1,000 at first, and then I'll test it out. Let's see. Yeah, up. Yeah, that's good. I think this is it. How about the head? At first, I'd have to work on the connection from the head to the body, regardless of what the body is going to do. This part here, I'm going to turn that into a mesh, and I'll edit the mesh. And I'm going to trace it at first, since tracing was doing a good job last time. Then I think I'm going to remove the useless vertices. This has the job of attaching the head to the body, and it feels 3D. So taking that into account, I kind of want a tubular mesh where one end is this, where the head is attached. So I could already anchor it in place with these 2 vertices to anchor that part. And then to convey the 3D-ness of this shape, I'm gonna add a couple of vertices here, maybe even just one. Yeah, maybe even this is enough, you know? You know what? And the result could be this super simple mesh, as you see. Just 4 vertices in the middle, basically, and the rest was going around the mesh. Then we needed to attach this part to the body and to the head. To get it to work, I'm going to move maybe the head so I can test the range. So I'll translate this like this, then in the opposite direction. So I create the range, maybe a little bit like this. Then up, then down like this. Okay, so I have some range to test. For the weights, I need to attach this part like this. Then these need to be an in-between. And it's already doing the job for me, basically. Very nice. I'll smooth it. Then this part should be a tad stronger on the hips or not. Yeah. Either way, these need to be slightly less strong on the head. Or maybe more, yes, here, but less above. Then this part could maybe convey more of the 3D-ness like this. So it feels rounder, you know. Here, these two could be slightly more on the hips, so it's not completely attached. Creates a little bit of an offset like this. This could be it for that top part. Then we have the problem that this thing here I think is rigid and should be attached to it. So maybe I'll do the collar next. So just notice that I did not attach, for example, tongue, teeth, anything else? No, just these two. I'll parent them to the head, at least for now. Yeah. What is this? Back head. Oh, I forgot it. Parent here. Let's see now. We said the color. I'm gonna do the color so it follows the rest. Okay, this is another easy one. Check mesh, edit mesh. At first we trace around it. Tracing result is again good. I remove this extra vertex. I'll maybe add a vertex here so that I can go inside this circle more, and maybe another one here, because in this case I think it pays off to be that closer. It has a flow that is nice. It could work as is. So I'll start with this, and if I feel like some parts are too flat, which could be the case because here there's an edge, here there's another edge, and maybe we want to convey the shape better, then maybe I'll add the border. For now, I'll start with this. I'll bind it to those 2 bones. Go in animate mode. Because I'm doing just the front, it will detach from the back. It's gonna be okay. So again, here, I'm gonna select these parts and I'm gonna attach them more to the neck. Ah, see? That is nice. Now, because I like what it is doing here, but this part now detaches too much, so I want it influenced a bit more by the neck. Okay, so now it's covered, as you see. Okay, then this part is not feeling as nice. Here, the way it bends. Yeah, it does feel very flat. So, also here, see, because I did not add any vertices, it's basically a flat surface there. Okay, I'll stop at one of the places where I think it's doing weird stuff. Okay, see, it has those weights that are evil. It is cut precisely like that. I think I have to do this. Okay, it follows a lot better. So here, mesh, edit mesh. I want to see isolated. Let's try tracing. Tracing gave me a good result. It's working nicely on this project. Okay, I'll remove that. And I'll slice here this part to separate the 2 planes. Okay, should be good to go. Ah, no, I have to bind it first to, as usual, this bone and this. And then I'll change the weights. First, I guess something like this. Then when it is closer here, I'm going to attach it this way, probably. Okay, I'm seeing if I can push one of these more in the back or more in the front, but it looks like that's not the case. Looks like I can change these two by the same amount to get a better result. And this is the plane that is most inside. But of course we cannot see because the triangle that is controlling that part is not visible to us. We could do this to make sure that part is covered. Then this is actually on the same plane as this. Probably like this is good. Then this should have a similar weight to that one. So it creates this sort of result. Okay, maybe we could complicate this. So I select this, added the mesh, and instead I can add another border here. I'm just gonna place the vertices here so that I can control another plane. I'm gonna separate the buckles, and maybe this too. Maybe this is enough, I'm not sure. Okay, so I complicated it a little bit. Now I can get some parts to pop out instead of being so flat. So this, I'm gonna add more neck influence so it pops out. Then this, which was flat until now, I'm gonna also get to pop out a bit more. This too. Actually, probably this too. Yeah. Then this, then also this, and this definitely. Then here, this. I'm doing them one by one because each of these has a slightly different weight. Okay, then I can assign more influence also to this. Then maybe this too. No, actually I want it attached. Or not, more like this, yeah? And here I can also get this to be influenced more to create that nice border. And if that's the case, I'm gonna raise this a tad more. And this too. You can tell that I did not add any vertices here and it feels super flat. So now we have to also edit that, separating these parts at first, and then to convey the shape I'll add an edge here, I think, maybe like this. Okay, then we get it to pop out. Here I'll increase the neck influence, here too, or neck influence, here too. Well, it is a little bit better, not perfect, but certainly better. Okay, I'll go in the version where it is more compressed like this, and then I'll create the structure that I want. Let's play it. Yeah, I think it's okay. What difference comes after using yellow color lines in meshes? So the yellow color lines are edges that are user defined. So instead of having Spine to automatically calculate them with the white lines, the orange lines, Spine won't try to cross them. And it also has the advantage that if you use smoothing, it will travel along this user defined edge. It also makes deleting other edges easier, like for example here, I cannot delete that. If I create a triangle like this, then suddenly I can delete that. Okay, I'll focus on the face. For the face, let's start with the top. Let's try tracing again. I'll use it as a starting point, but I don't like the result that much. Okay, I cleaned it up. Now I have to reason about two things that I wanted to do. One is convey 3Dness. The second one is open and close the eyes. To open and close the eyes, I just have to envelop this like this, then give it a little bit more room. Then I slice it in two parts like this, and then I simply add an edge around like this so that they can do stuff. Okay, I see there's the nice folds of the eyes around here, so I can use those. Hopefully this is enough. Don't like adding too much stuff. If we imagine that this is a cube, then the edge that is closer to us is this. Here there's an imaginary part that bumps into us closer than other parts. So I'm gonna outline that. I'll separate at first these parts, I think like this. Maybe I'll also follow the light that is here, force it like this. I'll start with this because I want Spine to do the automatic weights for me. I'm lazy, you know. It already has tons of vertices, so okay, I'll start with the front bone, then the eye parts, then the backbone, and that's gonna be it. Then I'll do a new test animation. Test head, and I'll move this, which will be my control. Blue bone should be the strongest on this edge. Also, I don't want eye influence on parts that are not the eye, actually. So let's start with this, so nothing is moved by that. So then we said blue bone. I wanted to more or less influence this part, maybe like this. Then we said the edge that is strongest is this, so that will be 100%. Oh, this was a mistake. Then here I'll have to get a nice curvature. Oh, maybe this also can be basically 100%. These should be a tad closer to us. These I can push more in the front. These two can be pushed like this, but this should be stronger. And this maybe should be more in the back. Here I'll get this to also be a tad stronger and stronger. These two, this maybe two. Okay, this part, the eye part, is gonna be tricky. So I wanted to do two things at the same time. So I already know how I want the eye to move, so I may as well already assign the vertices so they do what I want. At first I'll close the eye like this, so it's close to the lacrimal duct on the line of it in theory. Okay. Then I'll assign 100% of the weights. I could have done either in either order, okay? Here and here, they're controlled by that. And generally, here on top, a little bit, and here also a little bit, which is why I added that double circle like that. Okay, now that I have those in place, I can focus again on getting the 3D effect. Here, these parts will need to have a lot more of the blue bone influence, okay, but not all of them. It's actually first these gotta be stronger. Wonder if these should be a little bit less, and these also less. These two stronger. This a little bit. This two. This two. Okay, see, the more I influence these weights with the bone that is supposed to push them in the front, the more I lose the maximum amount of movement that I could have had for the eyes, so they are starting to open again, which means that I'll need to move the bones lower to mix the two effects together. Not great, but also not that bad. Raising this more, and this too. I think I'm near the final form for this. Okay, now I feel like I influenced this part too much, so I can lower it a little bit. But I had to have like a clearer vision at first. Then, since I'm happy with this, I'll fix the eye vision so it can be closed. It has to be closed this way. Could be closed more. So the problem is that this part here leaves a little gap in the triangle there. So I'd have to move the triangle so it sits outside instead of inside. Okay, this way when I go back to it, now it is actually closed. Near perfect, because I see it seems like a couple of pixels escaped. Yeah, like these ones. And so you could see the transparency. So I'm going to move this like this. And now it should be, perfect. Now it closes. So I'll complete just the lower jaw, and then we'll see a little testing animation, and then that will be it for today's session. Okay, then I'll reveal again the various parts, and I'll have to connect them. I'll add this mesh that is below. Let's try tracing again. Remove this extra vertex and this too. Okay, I want to see it not isolated. Okay, we had the connection sort of here, and there's teeth to take into consideration. So probably I will add a couple of vertices here and maybe here. If I'm lucky, this is enough. Maybe I'll add just a couple more to have this part rounder. I'll start with that. Probably I'll add also a line here so that this can be can feel curved as this part above. Okay, I'll bind it at first to this two. Okay, I'll hide the teeth for now. I'll first connect this part to the base of the head, to the neck. Needs to be attached. We need to have an extreme. This two basically. Okay, this around here I think. This needs to be lower. How low? How is the original? It's curved. Okay, so I was fighting an impossible fight. Maybe like this, it's fine. Let's see here. Nope, only this. I think that's the way to achieve it. Okay, then here I want to push this part in the back. Probably something like this. So the curvature is, here it's too flat, so I definitely need to add more vertices. And maybe I can get this to be a tad softer too. Okay, I'll modify the mesh. Probably like this, and I'll push this to be more in the front. Let's see here, this the most in the front. Yeah, this is nice. Okay, then I can reactivate the teeth, and I have to connect them. Select, turn it into a mesh, edit the mesh. Let's dim them so I can tell them apart. Okay, I'll connect them this way. Don't need anything too fancy, just gonna do this so that I have control over their point of contact. Then I'll bind them here and to the back, and then I'll simply get them to be connected here. I actually can move both of them at the same time so one of them reaches the right position. Okay, that's it. And then here these two can push more in the back like this. That's good. Then here this, it's very close to where it needs to be. Can also get them to be different, so the top is actually getting out a little bit. And here, these, I can push more in the back. Okay, now it feels attached. But this part detaches too much. Feels like it detaches too much in one of these positions. I think this. I'm just gonna go in and edit it until it covers it perfectly. And then play the animation. That's not good. Okay, then how do I get this to be right? Also like this. It's very tricky. I think they don't overlap perfectly, which adds to the trickiness. I mean, when I say they, I mean the two vertices that I created in this area. But I guess this is close enough. I think it's fine. I want to test this out now with the mouth open. Aha! Okay, it's working. Lovely. Works. Should it detach this much or not? Maybe I am going to wait this top part to also follow this bone in here. And I'll simply swap the weights for these two parts so that instead of following the blue bone, they follow this. Swap. and now they are attached. Interesting. Well, that worked, but it also moved one of the teeth, which I'm not particularly happy about. So instead of doing that, I think I have to add a vertex to anchor this tooth in place, so that then I can just swap these two parts. So I'll redo that, and I'll select these two and the two vertices that I want to swap, and then I'll swap them. Maybe it should be an in-between, or maybe it's fine to have these at this height, and instead it's the bottom part that should adapt. So I'll also bind here the top part, and then at the base here, where this detaches so much, I'm going to swap actually. Actually, I can just lock the neck, yeah. And I'm going to raise the influence here of the blue part, here more of this, and here a bit more, so it's not the, actually a bit more. Ah, perfect. That's good. Yeah, I'm very happy with how this turned out. So it has eyes that open and close. It has a mouth that opens. That's good. Okay, let's do the back. Okay, there it is. Mesh, edit mesh. And once again, we try tracing. Okay, this is useless. I'll just move this here. Don't think this is necessary because it's so in the back of the head. I'm just gonna remove it. I'm gonna leave that. If I feel fancy, maybe I'll add some vertices here for the inside of the mouth to create space inside. I'll bind this here and to the bottom, and maybe also to the top. And then I'll get this to also the form. Swap is another button that is only available from 4.1 onwards. And it allows you to swap the weights of the selected vertices between two selected bones in the weights list. So you can swap the weights with those. For example, if I swap these two, now it is influenced by this bone instead, see? Then when the mouth is open, maybe I want an in-between state. So we can see those back teeth. How about this? Maybe a little less. So I have to get this to be hidden. Then it needs more neck influence. Okay, and this too looks like it is also working. So then this means that it needs to be influenced more by head down. And then lastly, the tongue. Where is it? I'll turn that into a mesh. I can just generate vertices for this. Something like this. Easy peasy. So I can also get some 3D-ness out of it. Maybe I'll add a control for the tongue. So I'll parent that here, and in animate mode it will follow there, but also, did I bind all the parts? No, bind here, 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 here. So I have all the necessary parts. I'm mostly gonna be attaching this to the neck part, then an in between in here too. Okay, here actually too. Here I'll get this to be more like this. Maybe there is an angle that I don't like about this tongue. Then I'm gonna lock the neck so that I can also get the tongue to move, maybe roar, you know. La, 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 la. That's actually working nicely. Maybe I don't need to do that. I'm gonna leave it like this then. And let's do a tiny animation with this. So much work, why not? So I'll also bind the neck to these various controls, so maybe it follows a little bit of the lower jaw, you know. Lock the hips and instead start adding head down influence here. Here, very little. Here, just like super little. I'll delete this animation, or actually I'll get rid of these keys here. And let's see. I could get it to do some movement. For example, what could it be doing? It could be doing, I don't know, this, where it watches one way. Maybe it starts from where it is. I thought I moved it more. Maybe it's doing this. Here, I want it to move like this. Then I'm gonna move it from where it is to here. Here, I want to be like this. So it watches this way. Actually, I want this to be the final pose. And then maybe in here, it lowers the jaw a little bit. So now it's doing this. Let's see it without the bones, because the bones are kind of obstructing. Ah, yeah, I forgot to do the eye, so I'm not done. Yeah, but it's feeling nice, right? Let's also get this eye to follow the rest of the movement. Eye, here it is. So, my dear eye, what are you gonna be doing? You're gonna be a mesh, you're gonna be bound to the eye, the neck, the front, bound, and let's get this to be in the right position by the end. So weights, I'll get this to follow more of, nope, not this, yes this, I think like this. Okay, yeah, our dino is doing stuff. Kind of looks cute. I don't know, I see everything is cute. Okay, I'm happy with the result of today's session. So we did this, and we also did the tail, which was, that was the old test, it was doing this. So if you managed to go beyond what we did today, to do some more animations on this, I'm very looking forward to your tests on the Spine Discord. Once again, this was a dinosaur that was painted by Victor Debatisse, and it was cut by Martin Hauw, who was in the chat with us as Dan Elkoa. Thank you. Thank you for providing this challenge. I hope I'll see some people trying this out and posting their results, because it's such nice art and so neatly cut. So I hope people really will join. So thank you again for joining me today for this stream. Bye bye. See you next time.